Oh my God. Hold on.
Now we are recording now. And now I just made you the host, so we're all good.
Okay. Oh, wait. Oh, there's one more. Does Zoom let you change the ding dong sound?
Yes, you can eliminate the chime through your settings.
But you can't like change it. You can't make it like a honk.
That I don't know. Yeah.
Like
Make it one of your songs, Joe.
No. I don't.
You really want to personalize your Zoom?
Yeah, I don't.
You could do that.
I don't think that'd be the move. But a duck, I could see that. Okay, so we have, let's see. Should we wait a few more minutes, Lisa?
It's 3 o'clock exactly. If you want to wait 1 or 2 minutes, that'd probably be a good idea.
Okay, we will do that then.
Just give some people time that might be having some technical difficulties or trying just to sign on. And But I will drop the link for the Google Forms in the chat for anybody who would like to sign in now. That will enter your name into one of the tech prizes, and Joe will share a little bit more about that. But while you're waiting, if you want to go ahead and check in, just double click on that Google form and fill out that quick form and hit submit. Thanks.
Okay, it is not the right one. I will wait until 3:02. Oh, look at that. Okay, maybe I'll wait a little longer. Okay, so let me share my screen a second. And let me see if I can expand everyone here. All right, so yeah, we'll wait. I'm sorry, we'll just start. And some other people may be filtering in, but so hello everyone, and welcome to the student employment session, part of the Work Like a Laker conference. Today we are going to touch on topics including what makes on-campus student employment unique, best practices regarding both applying and what to do when or if you get hired, our own experiences, and then finally a program within our department called Student Employment Plus. So I'm Joseph Van Arendonk. I'm the Student Employment Plus coach, and I've been with the university for about a year now. And then my co-hosts.
Hey everyone, I'm Yug Gill, Assistant Director of Financial Aid, overseeing student employment, and I have been at GVSD for 1.5 years. I did my grad work at GVSD a while ago, so I feel like I'm returning back, but it's been a 1.5 years lately.
And I'm Caitlin Johnson. I'm a student employment assistant, and I have been in this role for about 2.5 years now.
All right. So first, we'll touch on these. If you've attended other events this week, or you will see these. Oh, there we have another person coming in.
I'll just admit it then.
Cool. Yeah, so if you've attended other events this week, then you'll be familiar with these. And if you're going to attend others, then you'll see this again, but I'll briefly go over these meeting norms. So if your video, and mine just turned off, that's weird. So with your video, please turn your video on and keep it on, right? Your sound, keep yourself muted unless you have something to share, of course. And then if you have questions, use the chat box or the raise your hand feature when you have something to contribute. And then Lisa will be monitoring, and Caitlin and you will all be monitoring the chat box. So if you have any questions during any time in this presentation, just ask. And then we'll take a little pause and answer those, or wait until we're in between slides. When you do ask a question, introduce yourself before speaking. And then when you do talk naturally, we ask that you speak clearly and then direct your questions to an individual. So some of you probably saw this when you came in, but there is a link to check in the chat box. And we ask that you do that just so we have an attendance number. And with that link, you will be entered in automatically to win a prize raffle. And you'll be contacted via the email provided in the check-in form. It's just a Google form. It's pretty quick. And we want to give a shout out to our prize sponsor, Consolidated Electric Distributors, and that is their link. And I think the link's in the chat box as well. And that's a picture of the tech accessory prize package. All right, so with that, we will sort of begin. And Caitlin, go ahead.
All right, so to give you guys a little bit of background, our office works with all university departments as well as off-campus employers to create part-time and summer employment for students at GVSU. Some of the on-campus departments we work with are campus dining, facility services, campus rec, student ambassadors, and dozens more. And then throughout the year, there are about 4,500 student positions that are filled across GVSU campuses, which just kind of goes to show how important our student employees are.
So a lot of times parents and students ask us, like, why work on campus? How's it different? So one of the biggest things, like, you get a paycheck, you get the paycheck every other week. There's flexible hours. And what I mean by that is, like, you're a student first, but if there's ever a time you are, not able to meet your hours, or you need some flexibility, as long as you're communicating with your supervisor, you should be able to get some flexibility. There's also research that's done that tells us campus involvement and engagement are keys to success in college, and some of that is directly tied to student employment. Usually it's about 10 to 15 hours of work that's associated with higher GPAs and increase in skills. And I think if you think about it, it helps you not only work, but also like manage your time better, because you don't have extra time to like work on homework and do other things related to academics. Definitely develop skills and work ethic, learn professionalism. I think one of the biggest things I tell people is, like, you don't learn who you are as a professional the day you start your first job. You can learn it in college. You can like work on things, like, you can already improve things if there's things that you need to improve on while you're in college. And student employment is a good way to look at who you are, like what you want to be as a professional and how to get there, and start doing that while you're in your student employment. Then another big part about student employment is you get to know other students. You might not know some of these students because maybe they're not in your friend network, or they're not like in a major that you're working towards. And these students might be from different, like, they might be a junior and you're a freshman. Or they might be into like sciences and you're doing art. So you meet a lot of other students that you might not meet through your social networks. And then being part of the community, you'll notice that you will get to know more people, whether it's faculty, staff, other students. But like, we consider student employment and student employees a big part of GVSU community, and you will definitely start feeling part of it as you work in a job or work in different jobs. The one thing I also say, like, use your relationships with faculty and staff, not just like for future like help, but like get to know them, work well, like develop a good relationship, professional relationship, and use them then again in the future. Like, if you're like, hey, I need a reference for grad school, or like my student employment experience was great, ask your supervisors for a rec letter, or ask them to be a reference for you. And all of that is possible through our on-campus student employment jobs.
So if you are interested in becoming a student employment at GVSU, we first recommend that you visit our website, which is gvsu.edu/studentjobs. Our website includes a lot of student information such as a handbook, which is the most inclusive document we offer regarding all things student employment. And then more specifically, our website also includes information about federal work study guidelines, how to find a job, what's expected of you as an employee, and more details about Student Employment Plus, which Joe will be talking about later. And after checking out our website, we recommend setting up your account in Handshake. Handshake is the job sharing platform we use at GVSU to help connect students to future employment. And as a student at GVSU, you're automatically given a Handshake account when you sign up for orientation. It's just up to you to sign in and add your personal details. We have step-by-step documents on our website on how you can do this. And that can be found underneath the Students tab. And then once you've set up your account in Handshake, you're ready to look for an on-campus or off-campus job and start applying to the opportunities that interest you. When you found a job on Handshake that does interest you, you're able to start applying. A good application includes a resume, a cover letter, and any other documentation that the employer requires. So for the resume, a good resume is going to be honest, accurate, and to the point. You're only going to want to list the job skills that you truly have and that you could perform well in a future position. Make sure your resume is accurate and that you double check for any grammatical errors or incorrect dates. And finally, you'll want to make sure that your resume is to the point. So if you're applying for a position as a researcher in a biology department, you may not want to include your middle school babysitting job unless there are responsibilities that would carry over. And a good cover letter is well written. It has a great introduction, it is a great introduction to who you are as a potential employee. This is a good place where you can go into a little more detail about how your specific skills could benefit the job you're applying to. This is also a great place for you to say why you're interested in this position and what you have to offer. And not all employers are going to require a cover letter, but it's definitely something that you could use to your benefit in an application. And finally, some employers may ask for a copy of your class schedule or letter of recommendation, so be sure to include those if they're necessary.
So I guess what happens after you apply? I guess one of the biggest advice I have for students is be patient. It's not, sometimes it's not a quick process, but that doesn't mean you don't apply or don't apply to new jobs. I would say keep applying to other jobs, be patient, but also don't assume just because you apply to a job, you're getting the job. We try to have student employment mirror, or we want to have student employment give students experience as a professional job searches. So, if you're applying for jobs in the real world, you apply, you wait, if you're considered, you'll get interviews. And a lot of our jobs follow that pattern. So again, be patient, but just because you applied to one job, didn't hear back from that job, don't give up, just keep applying. And there'll be a lot of other jobs available to you. And then also prepare for your interviews. A lot of us depend on a good interview to decide, if you want to hire a specific student or not. And don't worry about if, let's say you're I've never done a resume. I know Caitlin was just talking about resume and cover letters. Our Career Center, they do a really good job with advising you, helping you develop those first documents, resumes, or cover letters, or both. And they have virtual hours. I'll put them here, but again, go to their website and you can do virtual lab. I believe it's called virtual lab, and they will have the hours posted there where you pretty much go in there and someone from Career Center will help you, or they'll just get you started and you can bring back your documents to get them reviewed before you start applying for jobs. But again, don't feel like you're alone. You can even email studentjobs@gvsu.edu, and we'll share this information later. That's Student Employment Office's email. And if there's something we can help you with, we will help you with it. But if there's something we know some other department or offices, better at helping students in specific areas, then we will forward your message, or we'll tell you how to get to the other office. But again, those hours are posted on their website, and it's a great resource for our students to get their resumes and job application and cover letters reviewed.
So let's say that you apply to a job, you get an interview, and you're offered the position. The first thing you're going to want to do is complete your employment paperwork. And this paperwork is what allows you to be employed by GVSU and allows you to be paid by GVSU. So this paperwork is going to include the federal I-9 form, federal and state tax forms, which are called W-4s. And you may also need to fill out city tax forms depending on where you live and what city you'll be working in. And the I-9 form must be completed within your first 3 days of employment. A direct deposit form is also an option for you to fill out, and we definitely recommend signing up for direct deposit if you're able to. You end up getting your paycheck a little bit earlier than students who've selected to have their paycheck sent through the mail. And all of these forms that I just mentioned can be completed in our office, which is on the Allendale campus in the Student Services Center. After being hired on campus, you'll also want to work with your supervisor to create a work schedule. And when doing so, you're going to want to be honest about how many hours you're able to work and let your supervisor know right away if anything changes. Once your schedule is created, make sure to stick to it and communicate with your supervisor if you're running late or you're unable to make a shift, but try not to make that too much of a habit. You're also going to want to show up with a good attitude and be ready to work. Working on campus as a student employee is a great way to start building your professional career and gain new skills that'll help you in your future career. It's also a really good time to challenge yourself and see what you're capable of as an employee. And if you feel as though you aren't being challenged, or maybe you think you could handle more responsibility, talk to your supervisor about that and see if there's anything else that's available in your role. You'll also want to think about responsibilities in your student position that could carry over into a future career. Some of these responsibilities might be data entry or customer service, organization, or communicating with customers. So something that may not seem very important in your student employee position might actually be a great quality to have later on in life and can help you find future employment. And it's always good to ask questions and to maintain good communication with your supervisor. Your supervisor is someone who can help teach you valuable skills and can be a great reference later on. So make sure to take advantage of that opportunity. Your supervisor can also be somewhat of a mentor or a guide as you look for employment after graduation, or it can be someone to help you if you want to gain a new set of skills.
I seem to be having problems with my webcam, so yeah, I might be popping in and out, but you'll be able to hear me, so don't worry about that. If you don't get hired or hear back, right? So say it's it's multiple weeks since you've applied. This advice is not going to be all that dissimilar to another job, but first, be perseverant, right? There could be many dozens of students applying to a single position, so you may not and probably won't get the first job you apply for, especially right before the fall semester, say July, August, September. There are many new jobs posted almost daily. So if it's been a while since you've heard back, reach out to the hiring department for updates regarding the job search process. Each posting will list a contact person, so you can reach out to them in their email directly, and either get an update on that job process, or if they have gone with another candidate, ask them why you weren't selected. And if the reason is something that you can work or improve upon, like you said, utilize the Career Center for the myriad of professional development opportunities, regarding resumes, cover letters, networking, and interviewing. So that is just a quick thing with that. Now, my webcam stayed on. That's great.
Yep. Nothing to add to a couple of things that Joe just mentioned. Keep it professional if you're going to reach out to someone. I know it could be frustrating, like, hey, they didn't give me a job, let me send them an email and get an answer from them. Like, no, just keep it professional. Like, hey, I'm new to this. I'm still learning and working through, like, what skills I need to work on. If you can give me a status update, that's great, or something I need to work on. I'll honestly take that feedback and work on it. Like that, I think is perfectly reasonable. Don't again, keep it professional, keep it calm. A lot of our supervisors will more than willingly, work with you or give you advice. And then the last thing I'll say is if let's say you apply to a department that hires a lot of people, you might not get an answer right away because there's let's say hundreds of applications they have to look through. But doesn't mean you don't try. If you get good feedback from someone, or someone yeah, I'm sorry, we only had 2 positions, but I'll keep your application on file. There's nothing I can tell you right now that you can work on, but just keep applying. Even hearing that sometimes is encouraging than not hearing anything.
Right. There's really no way to know, what happened if you don't ask. So,
So I guess the next few slides, we're all sharing a few examples from our experiences working on campuses. So these are, again, our personal journeys and stories and some resources and, things we learned. So hopefully that will help you. And I started with my junior and senior year. By the time I was a junior, I was working 20 hours a week. But I will say it took me a couple of years to get to that point. So when I was first year student, freshman, sophomore, I mostly work about 10 to 12 hours a week because adjusting to college is hard. You're trying to figure out how much work my classes are gonna take. I need to have a social life and what my other involvement looks like. So I kind of kept it a little bit lower than usual. But then by the time I was a junior, I knew how to manage my academics and my social life, and then fit in student employment into that. So by junior, senior year, I was easily working 20 hours a week. I had a couple of jobs that helped me get to 20 hours. And I was honestly it didn't feel like that much because I got to that point after I worked about 10 to 15, 10 to 12 hours a week for the first couple of years. And I will say this, I know sometimes it's well, that's really straightforward. Yeah, we all need an ego check sometimes. And I needed an ego check too, because the first semester, the half of the semester in college, I didn't apply to, the cleaning jobs, maintenance jobs, working in dining halls, because I was no, I'm not working, at a dining hall, or I'm not going to clean the library steps because someone else can do that. But then I found out that I didn't get any jobs. So I was I guess I have to start somewhere because I need money to pay my rent and have some personal money for other expenses. So I was I'll just apply and see what happens. And some of the first jobs I got were working in library cleaning, the floors, their stairwell steps, just doing general maintenance, and then dining halls, cleaning the dishes and sometimes doing some food prep. So yeah, it doesn't sound like amazing jobs, but I was yeah, I think I needed an ego check, but there was a lot of growth in that. Personally, I was there's no job from that. I learned there's no job that's beneath me, and jobs are paying me money to work there that helps me then afford my education. The second part of this is later I also, as I build my network of connections, whether it was supervisors, faculty, I kind of started talking to them hey, do you have any jobs in your area? I'm interested in being a lab assistant, or I can help, some faculty would say hey, I really need help with grading if someone's interested. I will let them know I'm interested. Of course you have to do well in their class and be a good student, and they will trust you to do their grad assisting or grade assisting or helping them in lab. So towards end of my time in college, I was able to gain or acquire some of these jobs, and I listed them here: grading, lab assisting, and I worked in student life, and I was an RA. And then towards grad school side of things, I had graduate assistantship and internships, but I didn't start there. So if you start somewhere where you don't like, even if it's for 1 or 2 years, keep working on your networking, keep getting to know other people, including other students. You might have someone who's a senior or junior and they're a manager at a a office you want to work at. So keep working on those, but don't ever feel and if you do, it's natural, that's fine. We all sometimes feel that job is beneath me, or I'm not going to do that job. But just kind of keep that in check, because if you need some money and you just need a job, you can always do a job for a year or two and then move on to other opportunities that you want to work on.
And I was also a student employee while I was completing my education at GVSU, and I worked in the records and registration office for about 4.5 years. And while I was a student there, I learned a lot of skills that helped me both in my personal life and that I carried over into the job I have now. And so I know that if I hadn't been able to get that position in that office and gain the skills that I did, I probably wouldn't even have gotten the position that I have now. And so I'd say one of the biggest tips I have for student employees is to view your job as a space to learn and grow in your professional development. Working at a university is a great middle ground between a temporary high school job and a full-time career after you graduate. And so working in university, you'll probably have more responsibilities than you did at a job in high school, which also means that you need to take it more seriously. However, there's also still more room to grow in a university job than as a student employee than if you were in a full-time career where you're expected to know a lot more a lot sooner. So that being said, don't take advantage of your student position and assume that it's not important, because you still need to be responsible and show up on time, be reliable and professional. And as I mentioned before, your supervisor is one of the best people to use as a reference for a job application after you graduate. So make sure that you give them a lot of good things to say about you. And finally, I'd say have fun with it. It's just such a good time in your life to learn more about what you're capable of. And it's also a good time to gain great friendships with the people you work with. And so your student employee position could be a really good stepping stone that you need to get a reliable job after graduation. And it's also a really good way to make some good connections.
Yeah, so mine's pretty short because I think you and Caitlin covered a lot of what I would say, but like any job, right, it's really what you make of it. So I started out my junior year as a student receptionist, then became a student intern, then I was a part-time employee after graduation, and now I'm full-time staff. So like Caitlin said, on-campus student employment can be a great place for professional development, especially if you seek it out. Grand Valley is an employer unlike any other you'll probably have because you go to school here. Our mission is explicitly focused around you getting the best holistic education experience possible, and student employment falls within that umbrella. So we try to be there for you as much as you are there for us. And so I encourage you to take advantage of that while you're here if you can. But job crafting is easier said than done. So here are some specific tips you can do on your own specifically to get the most out of your on-campus employment experience. And we'd encourage you to use the Student Employee Handbook as a guide, and I think that link is in the chat box as well. But look for growth opportunities, ask your supervisor for specific opportunities to develop specific skills. You can ask to shadow, ask for feedback, ask what you can do to improve your performance. And you can even track progress for improvement yourself. But this leads me to talk about a relatively new initiative launched last year that takes almost all of these best practices and inserts them into a framework that we call Student Employment Plus. So the basics of this program is, so it's an internal program that is unique to the university. And at the bare bones, this is SE Plus is the creation and identification of a distinct type of student employment position that meets specific criteria regarding type of work, often higher pay, elevated responsibility, and is tied to future career goals. And I'll clarify type of work by saying not a specific type of job, right? SE Plus has hundreds of students involved right now across 40 different departments, from student graphic designers to chem lab assistants to K-12 tutors. So very wide scope of job types of job duties and responsibilities. But the main difference between SE Plus and regular student employment is, first, a guaranteed ability to job craft and shape your experience to benefit you in the future. And this is by formally establishing career learning objectives at the very beginning of your job term, right? And so you don't have to pursue or initiate this yourself. Any SE Plus supervisor that hosts this kind of position has already made a distinct commitment to take on more of a mentorship-like role in this position, and has the perspective, not just what can you do for your department, but what can your department do for you? So it's a much more collaborative partnership between you and your supervisor. So what that looks like is, with every SE Plus job, you and your supervisor are going to work together at the beginning of your term and decide what specific skills, experiences, or competencies do you want to get out of your position, and what can or will your supervisor do to help you achieve these goals. And sometimes these jobs have been created already sometimes supervisors create jobs specifically that are already SE plus. So you're already getting really elevated type of responsibility, but you still have the ability to ask your supervisor for specific things that you want to get out of your job beyond your tasks for the department, if that makes sense. And then this growth is formally documented with midterm and end-term evaluation. So we also track your progress, right? And that's administrated through the Student Employment Office. And you and your supervisor are both involved in that growth in tracking progress with midterm and end-term evaluations based upon those learning objectives that you established at the beginning of the term. And so where and when can you find these jobs? All SE Plus positions have a standardized hiring procedure, and that procedure involves Handshake primarily. Every SE Plus position that exists will go through Handshake at some point, and they will simply be labeled as SE Plus. If you've been looking at jobs already and applying to jobs already before this, you've probably seen these popping up, and that's what that is. That's what that is this program. So it'll just have the regular job title essentially, and then just SE Plus in parentheses. And the other thing is, and I think a key element of, if you take anything away from this, is a conversion of a current job role into an SE Plus position. So many jobs, most jobs on campus will not be SE Plus, but if you feel, or you just like a position that you are hired in, if you think it would go into the framework, or you think that you and your supervisor could work together to make it fit this framework, ask your supervisor about it. By now, this program is pretty well known, so if you mention that, I'm sure they're going to know what you're talking about. Convert a current job role into sort of this framework. So you can, you can sort of create your own destiny with that. If it's not, it definitely can be, and we've converted, dozens and dozens and dozens of jobs into this framework. And I actually think that is, I think we have just a question slide now.
Yeah, so I mean, we've given you guys a lot of information about what's available, but if you have any specific questions about a topic we haven't covered, or if you want us to give more details on something, you can either raise your hand, unmute yourself, or ask in the chat box, and we're more than happy to talk about those.
I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah, so like right now, like I am still like GLCC student, but I'm going to transfer to Grand Valley this fall 2021. So I got admitted. So I'm incoming transfer student. So my major is computer science. So I'm right now, it's too early for me to looking for student employment job at Grand Valley.
I don't think so. Just because most of the hiring is done for fall doesn't mean that there aren't jobs available for summer. And for you, as long as you are enrolled in classes for fall, you can start working as early as May 2. So I would definitely check out Handshake and see what's available, because there's always new jobs being posted, and you might find a job for summer and be able to keep working throughout the academic year in that job as well.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
I think kind of like what Caitlin said, like, yes, you are not a student like this spring, summer, but our criteria is as long as you have classes for fall. So if someone, like, you're talking to someone or emailing someone about a job, you can let them know you're going to be a student in fall and you're transferring. And there's also a lot of, I don't know if there's jobs posted now, but we have a big requirement for IT and like technology related jobs. So if you are interested in those, they're a little bit more high paying, and they're like, when they have openings, like they have a lot of openings because they have like bigger student staff.
Oh, got it. Thank you. So right now I can like work on resume and cover letter, like visit the virtual career lab, right? Okay.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
And then do you have a Handshake account for Grand Valley?
Yes, I do
Okay.
have the Handshake account ready.
Okay, yep, because most of the jobs will be posted there. And if you already have an account, you can start looking at what their requirements are. and you can start applying after you feel comfortable with your resume and cover letter.
Got it.
Some jobs don't require, we talk about cover letters, some jobs don't require a cover letter. So if your resume is ready and that's all they want, then you can apply.
Oh, got it. Yeah, like I'm going to attend a transfer orientation in March 26th, so select the class for Grammarly. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And then do you have any tips for international students applying to jobs?
Yeah, so I think there's always questions on can international students work on campus? And the answer is yes. So anything that's on campus or even on our other site campuses, because GVSU has a campus downtown and a couple other places, like you can apply. There's no extra work authorization you need, or you don't need anything like that saying like no, you're an international student. Like if it's an on-campus job, you apply as any other student would. The only requirement for international students is that they have to keep to 20 hours a week. And that's not a GVSU, like regulation or rule. It's from the US immigration. They expect that students work, but they don't want students working more than 20 hours a week. And I think if you if you have Handshake accounts and if you know what kind of jobs you want, again, like it's one of those things, like keep applying, be patient, and don't get discouraged. Like, if you're like, I applied to 5 jobs and I've not heard anything, keep applying. There will be times, you'll find jobs that you want. Sometimes, they don't come like right away, but like, do something maybe for a year that maybe is not your favorite, but then like, build your networks and connections to do jobs that, you like in the future. And I'll also plug in Kate and Libby in International Center. They're amazing people, and I have a good relationship with them, and they work really well with student employment. So if you ever feel like, you're not experiencing something that, like was your plan, like, if you feel like, I'm struggling with something, like definitely reach out to them. They are your advisors, they're your life advisors, your career advisors, everything. So like even reach out to them if you're struggling with student employment, but you can also reach out to student employment if there's an issue you're having and you don't know how to handle it or how to work towards solving that issue.
And then for the other question, there's not really a best time of the year. There are definitely more hires that take place towards the end of summer semester into the fall semester. But like we said before, there's jobs all year round. So you always have a pretty good chance of finding employment as long as you keep applying and keep checking to see what's available. But I would just say the most amount of students get hired towards the beginning of the year because that's when supervisors are looking to hire for the whole year.
I do have a question.
Okay.
And yes, I also like to add, I am an international student as well. And I do recommend what I think you, Gil, said about talking to Kate and Libby. They are usually the international advisors, and they have helped me a lot in finding student employment. I actually work at the CLAS, the College of Liberal Arts and Science Center, and it was because of that help. So they are really, they can really benefit you if you want to know more information about it. And my question to you guys is, are there any examples of cover letters or resume examples where, like, what students have written down in the past? And where can I get that information?
So from my own personal experience, I've even just gone on Google and said, what's an example of a cover letter? And they have a lot of examples, whether it be for different jobs all over the place. So I'd say that's a good place to start. But I think Lisa probably has more information on that.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, because on the GVSU Career Center website page, and I'm going to put the link in the chat because I just Googled it when you asked that question, we do have sample resumes for students and cover letters with great information in regards to the layout, the templates. And then I say utilize that drop-in virtual career lab when you do have questions, or just for an extra set of eyes to have somebody proofread your information. because when we create documents like cover letters and resumes, we know ourselves best. And we may overlook a word or something just because we're so familiar with the information because we created the content. So always advise students to have them proofread. And that's just such a quick thing with this drop-in virtual career lab. So great question. And I'll put that link in right now.
Thank you.
And if anyone has any questions later that you think of, you can always give us a call or email us, and we're happy to talk to you at any time.
If no one also has any questions, I usually tell students this in their orientation sessions in summertime. But if, let's say, you are in a student employment role somewhere, and let's say you're having issues with your supervisor, and it could be anything, like not like little stuff like, hey, they like send me an email because I showed up late to work. I mean, that's going to happen. But if you feel like you're mistreated or you're not treated fairly, you can like directly email me. And I will support you, but I'll also like hear you out and figure out what our next steps are. And my information is pretty easy to look up. Like if you type in my name, YUG, you'll see my email. Or like if you want to like go through student employment, like I get those emails too. So it's completely up to you, but I do want to like put it out there. If you're ever in a situation that feels like it's too much to handle, or I just need someone to talk through this, you can directly reach out to me or email studentjobs@gvsu.edu.
All right, well, I'm gonna share my screen one more time. I'm gonna show you the upcoming sessions. These are what's coming up next week, and then the big kahuna on March 18th is the virtual career fair. So we encourage you to check out the rest of what the conference has to offer, and then definitely attend the career fair if that's something you're interested in. But thank you all. Lisa, do I need to do anything else?
Just one last quick shout out for anybody who hasn't had an opportunity to sign into that Google Doc to check in so that you'll be entered to win one of the tech prizes. I just dropped the link in the chat again. So if you joined us a little late and didn't see that link, please go ahead and do so at this time. Just check in. That will enter you in to win a prize. And you will hear about that the week of March 23rd after the drawing has taken place. But no, other than that, great information. Really appreciate everybody taking the time out of their schedules to join and learn more about student employment, and then highlight the Student Employment Plus. That's just an amazing job crafting opportunity. And I really appreciate the information that all of you shared here this afternoon. So thank you all very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.